This is a lesson on using ethos, pathos, and logos in writing. At this point, you should already know what ethos, pathos, and logos are. So if you can't remember which is which or the difference between the three, I would go back to past lessons and look that up real quick before you continue with this one. A little more review. Ethos, pathos, and logos together make up the three rhetorical appeals, or different strategies that we can use to persuade, three different strategies. And when you're persuading, you are trying to convince someone to do something or believe something. One more vocabulary word you've probably heard sometime before in persuasive writing, specifically in English class. When you're trying to persuade someone, you should always have a claim. And in writing, you can state your claim normally in your introduction at the beginning so everybody knows what you're talking about. And it would be just a simple one-sentence statement giving your opinion, whatever you're trying to argue for. And ethos, pathos, and logos then would come later on in your writing or in your creative project even, and they are ways to support your claim. Simple examples of a claim. Doritos are better than Cheetos. Students should not have to wear school uniforms. Notice they don't give any reasons yet. It's just a statement of which side you're on. The opposing claims, you could say also Cheetos are better than Doritos, or students should have to wear school uniforms, also claims that you could argue for. Let's talk about using ethos in your writing, and then I'll ask you to try it. So here are some great examples, and we'll look at real quick what the examples do that you could then try to do in your own writing. So the first example, I am a major chocolate lover who has tasted all possible types of chocolate over my lifetime, and I think M&Ms are the best. So the claim being M&Ms are the best candy, and they support by giving information about themselves. It's not about a celebrity or an expert, which ethos building trust sometimes is. This one gives information about the speaker, aka the student, to make us trust them. We should believe their opinion because they've tasted a lot of types of chocolate. They're sort of making themselves sound like a chocolate expert. The next one says nerds is recommended by dentists and doctors because they have less sugar than most candies. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. They're kind of just little balls of sugar. But this one is giving an expert opinion. Dentists and doctors should be experts on whether a candy or any food is healthy or not. So we would trust them. And this next one is a classic ethos strategy. The Ghirardelli caramel chocolate is LeBron James's favorite candy to get through the day. This one gives a celebrity endorsement. So celebrity or an expert are people that we both would trust, as well as the speaker. And this one kind of uses the same strategy. Twix is the best candy because this trustworthy company has been around since 1979. So sort of like the first one, gives information, but instead of about the speaker, it's about a company to make us trust them. All right, your turn. All right, take a look now think about what you just wrote. Did you use one of the main ethos strategies? And if not, you have one more chance to do it. So think about the things you could do on the next one. Mention a celebrity endorsement, mention an expert opinion, and or give information about yourself or your company to sound more trustworthy. All right, let's move on to logos. Here are some examples for logos. So let's look at the different strategies that they use to persuade. A mini Twix only has 50 calories. You can enjoy a treat while staying healthy. Okay, so this one sort of does two things. It gives a statistic, nutritional information, and it also lists some benefits. 4 out of 5 middle schoolers prefer lollipops over other chocolate candies like Kit Kats. This would be a statistic. And more specifically, if you do your own research for a project in English class or any class, you could call this survey results. This person supposedly conducted a survey and found these results. A pack of M&Ms isn't just one piece of candy, it's many, therefore they last longer than other candies out there. This one again is giving facts. The fact is that it's a bunch of little pieces of candy. If you didn't know what M&Ms were, you wouldn't know that. And also, again, is listing benefits. And last but not least, here's another statistic. White chocolate has 20% less sugar than normal chocolate. So it's giving us the numbers again. Okay, let's review real quick. So think about what you just wrote for logos. Did you use one of these strategies? If not, well, you can try it one more time. Giving a statistic or numbers would be something that you could try on the next one. Similar to that, giving survey results, facts or logic, just listing benefits without any emotion attached to it, because then that would be pathos. So try one more time. Okay, before we move on to pathos, I want to look at something important based on the writing that you all did for me in the candy form. When we think about pathos especially, it's important to think about the audience that we are trying to persuade. So one example of pathos would be like telling a personal emotional story, but then you have to connect it to other people. Remember that you're speaking to another person or a group of people, and you're trying to persuade all of them that they should like the same thing you are or do the same thing that you do. So again, just think about how your emotional story might matter to other people. So we're going to practice this real quick before we go on to actually writing with pathos. An example of a story that doesn't really persuade. I like M&Ms because my dad would give me an M&M whenever I did something good. So there's a connection there, but that just itself, because one of my students' parents would give them an M&M whenever they did something good, that doesn't necessarily make me want to eat M&Ms personally. But if you flip it around, so notice right here it says my dad would give me an M&M. Flip it around and focus on you for other people. What emotion will they feel when they get an M&M, just like this person did? So instead of I like M&Ms, more persuasive would be you should, or maybe you would enjoy M&Ms because maybe even just one will brighten your day. And this person also makes a connection to like childhood memory. So remind you of your childhood. Instead of I, me, now it's you. What will it bring to the other person's life based on your emotional story? And then in a full piece of writing, you might give your example here then, but you have to use this kind of statement along with it somewhere. One more example of this. Here's a less persuasive one that's too focused on just the author and not the audience. Chewing on Sour Patch Kids watermelon takes me back to the good old days. And so if I'm reading that, I'm thinking, well, good for you, but what about me? So just flip it. Instead of me, put it in a perspective like you're talking to somebody else. Chewing on Sour Patch Kids watermelon will take you back to the good old days. I didn't change a whole lot. I just changed it from talking about yourself as a speaker to talking to other people and trying to convince them. So when you come up with an emotional connection, when we do pathos in a minute, you can remember that you have an audience and to speak to other people and remind them of what emotion it will bring to their life, good or bad emotion. A few strategies for Pathos before we have you try it. Here's a great example. Lucas is the best candy because they give money to charity with every candy sold. I don't know if that's true or not. Somebody else wrote that. But if it is true, then yes, you could feel good about your purchase. So this would be connecting a positive emotion or feeling with your opinion. If they buy Lucas candy, which is what you want them to do, your opinion that they should do, then you will feel good about yourself. You should buy my favorite candy from the Dry Creek General Store because it's made by a small business, and if you don't support them, they might not be able to support their family. So this last line is kind of a sad thing. Makes you feel bad if you don't buy their candy, because then you imagine that you are all on your own, just hurting their family by not supporting them. So this would be an example of connect a negative emotion or feeling with not listening to you, not buying your product, not doing what you say, whatever. Here's a good one. Remember when teachers sometimes gave you candy or gum in school? This is one of the examples we just saw. Chewing Sour Patch Kids watermelon takes you back to the good old days. So again, this is kind of the same as the first one. Connect a positive emotion. Maybe connect to memories that other people might have that are similar to you. And the last one, Sweet Tart Ropes makes you feel like you're in heaven. Again, would be connecting a positive emotion or feeling, and also using strong emotional language, and that would fit with you're in heaven. Makes you think right away, feel really happy, light, relaxed, etc. And this one sort of has some strong emotional language too. We could add that in there with the good old days, that being sort of a phrase that connects to emotion. Again, one more time before we write, notice that these all use you. They're all focused on the audience. You should buy my favorite candy. You can feel good about your purchase. Remember when teachers gave you candy or gum? Do you remember that? You're in heaven. All focused on you. Don't tell your story in a me perspective, but switch it to how it applies to the people you are trying to convince, your audience who's listening to your persuasion. All right, when you wrote with Pathos, check yourself, think about what you just wrote. Did you use one of these strategies? And if not, you have one more chance to do so. So think about, did you connect to a happy emotion, like you'll feel good if you do this? And why? Or did you connect to a sad emotion? You'll feel guilty if you don't do this. You should be afraid of this, and this will help you not be afraid anymore. And or using words with emotional association. Some of the examples that we saw, like heaven or joyful, disappointed, strong vocabulary words that have to do with an emotion or a feeling.